This just might be some of our most, oh no, they didn't conversations yet. We are diving into topics that might challenge the way you think. And quite frankly, that's the point. So we invite you to grab an open mind, a sense of humor, and perhaps a lot of curiosity because it's about to get real. We are here to share our personal experiences and perspectives. There's no preaching, no perfect answers, just two perfectly imperfect humans exploring life's messy, beautiful, and sometimes downright awkward truths. We're not here to tell you how to live your life. We are here to spark curiosity, offer support, help you with mindset shifts, and maybe even give you a good laugh. And our goal is to create a space where all ideas are welcome, even the uncomfortable ones, to offer support to those who might feel isolated or unsure about their life adventure. We respect everyone's unique journey and we ask for the same in return. So let's keep it curious and kind and have some fun. Are you ready? As today we are talking about intellectual intercourse. I love this. The first time I heard this, it was quite some time ago. And I was like, what the fuck is that even? I mean, it made sense, but I was like, who even thought of this? And I thought to myself, we need to use this on the podcast because I think that's what a lot of people are missing in life. Before we actually start, I am going to actually read um, a description of intellectual intercourse just so that we're very clear. The term intellectual intercourse refers to the exchange of thoughts, ideas, or knowledge between individuals, often in a way that stimulates critical thinking, deep discussion, or creative problem solving. It involves meaningful communication or dialogue aimed at sharing perspectives, challenging assumptions, and fostering understanding on intellectual topics. So while intercourse often implies physical interaction in other contexts, this phrase is strictly pertains to the figurative exchange of mental or intellectual engagement. Isn't this great? I love it.
It's awesome.
I
And by
love
the way,
it.
this is our first YouTube podcast video. So yeah. Um,
And we plan on just showing up imperfect as we are. So we we just decided we are gonna from day one, from last season, day one, let's just jump in and learn as we go. So this is probably going to be messy and you're going to see all the bloopers behind the scenes because I don't think either one of us really knows how to edit a video. And I'm not sure it's our priority right now. So you'll get to see all the goodies.
well, and I'll be figuring out things as I go along. Um, I know as me and Jamie were talking earlier, I'm having some Wi-Fi issues on my end. So if we look a little glitchy or things like this, just know that I'm working on it, or I'm getting it worked on, I should say. And we're still going to take imperfect action because that's how we started. So that's how we're going to keep showing up. And yeah, why not? I know I've got this plain white background. My lighting kind of, I don't really like it that much, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyway and just figure it out as we go because this is what we do. This is how you create something is you just start
I
and
did
work on it on the way.
do something extra special today, though. I
Took a
combed my
shower.
hair.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I combed my
No,
hair.
so you didn't take a shower. Okay. Got it.
No, yeah, no, I did actually though, because I went to the gym. So, but I wanted to
I
say
know.
no just because.
I took a shower too before the podcast, which is,
Really?
yeah, I never do that
Be-
because you guys
Now
can't
no
see
one will
my,
be able to smell your body odor. Oh
yeah.
wait, they
Well, I
couldn't
mean,
anyway.
yeah, well, I look all grungy. I don't know. Sometimes it's, anyway.
For those of you that don't know, if you're first tuning in now, Daniel and I are actually 1,500 miles apart. We have never met in person. We connected through the same business coach. We are both hypnotists and mind evolving, specialist type people. So that's
Well,
really how we connected. I'm better than you.
I'm a better
No, no,
hypnotist,
no,
but
no.
you're catching up. You'll get there. Anyway, um,
I wonder what happens when we discuss who's been doing what, how many years? It's
well,
okay. It speaks for itself.
experience doesn't always equate to better. Okay. Anyway,
Okay. I'll let you be on your high horse. It's okay.
my high horse. Rode a horse in years. Anyway, um, no, but this is going to be fun. I'm very excited about doing this. I'm very excited about launching a YouTube channel. I've seen people do it. I've personally done a few little things with YouTube, but I've never done a lot. Um, so yeah, I'm excited about this. I think it's going to be super cool and super imperfect. And
For sure.
that's the reason why I think that what we're doing is so unique and special. Is just we're showing up raw and just real and being us and doing all the things. Because I was wanting to do some stuff in my background, this beautiful white nothing.
Mhm.
But again, we have lives and jobs and all the things. So,
Yeah,
but
we do.
the the term intellectual intercourse, the first time I ever heard this term was in the 90s from a which always stuck with me. It was interesting, but it was from a Alanis Morissette song.
Hmm.
And when I first heard it, I thought, man, that is I mean, all the way back then, back in the 90s when her I think it may have been is it the album Jagged Little Pill? Maybe. But
Oh, I think that you're right,
yeah,
but I'm guessing. But I think that
dumb.
you're right.
Yeah. So but when I first heard that term, it always stuck with me because it was such a unique kind of way to say something, right? It's
Hmm.
just you don't often equate those two together, right? Because you think intercourse as being sexual, right? And then intellectual, obviously, you wouldn't pair those two up, right?
Right.
So I don't know. It's just fascinating to me, and I know me and you talked about this, and we talked about this last season, wanting to do an episode around this. So here
Mm.
we are, starting off season 2 with a bang, if you will.
Definitely. When I started thinking about this, and the truth is, this is how we started communicating. Just our conversations and everything about the term intellectual intercourse really defines how we communicate. We give each other safe space. We we talk about like heated discussions. There's like there's so much. It's always about growth and depth and what do you think of this? And I came up with this thing, or you might not agree with me, but like these are common things in like almost every conversation that we have. And it's so fulfilling to talk with somebody. It's important to keep that open mind, but it's so fulfilling talking with somebody that has like we're hypnotists. So we have all these mind shifting tools in common. So when you talk about it, you can really dive deep and make even greater things happen. And I think that's just so many people are missing out on that. So many people. I'm not real keen on so what about the weather?
The
My
weather
brain.
here in the on the East Coast over here, I live in Southwest Virginia. The weather here is really crappy right now. Well, depends on what you like, I guess. My opinion, it kind of is pretty cool. I actually kind of like some of this weather. I am a truck driver, so I don't like driving in it, but it's snowy, icy, all the things. We've got about 4 or 5 inches outside and everything's covered in ice and it's like all beautiful and wintry looking. So, but thankfully, well, they canceled work today, so I don't have to work. This is a Monday, so I don't have to work today. So I'm fine with it being like this because I don't have to drive in this mess.
Here in Wisconsin, I was just thankful for like for the holidays. It was super pretty, super white. We haven't had that in a long time. So
Really
it's all melted. Yeah. Not for a long time. Not that I can remember. Usually it's pretty brown outside at Christmas time. And then
nice.
once January hits.
I don't know if you caught that, but even me and you, like you brought the weather and we start making this into a conversation. How odd is that? I
Whatever.
mean,
And I
I
even
mean,
said, I even said I don't really like to talk about the weather. And now here we are. We will take it deep
but yeah,
somehow.
and I was
We
just
will
thinking
find a
about
way.
that. I was just thinking that. But and that's just the thing is that when you find people that you and I know we both have hit this, especially in season one, and which by the way, if you none of you guys have listened to season any of the episodes in season one, amazing. Go back and do that. Not on the YouTube channel because there is no season one on YouTube. but
Good
um,
point.
but there's when you find those people that you resonate with, that you really can um well, and me and you both have talked about this. We were really looking for those people to actually somebody that we can go deep with. And again, that intellectual intercourse, right? Really just get in there and actually just go to that deep place. And that's something that I love doing this with you is because it's such a there's such a good flow back and forth, and it's like there's always it's almost like a passing of the shovel, right? I'll dig a little while, you'll dig a little deeper, I'll dig a little deeper. It's just that it's such a I don't know, I just love it. So yeah, I'm
It's
excited.
it's powerful for sure.
That's
I had a
something that
thought before and I lost it. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's something even about one of the things that I love always been fascinated. Well, I won't say always, but since I've started getting into to hypnosis and the coaching world and things like that, one of the things that I've gained a lot of interest in very quickly is like that conversational hypnosis.
Hmm.
Because I think that conversations is one of those is almost a missing element, if you will, especially in any type of relationship. I think having an open conversation is very, very important to accomplishing anything within any type of relationship, whether it's intimate, whether it's professional, just friendships, whatever it is, you know, open, honest, and deep conversation, I think is just so vitally important. And that's one of the things that really kind of, when I started getting into hypnosis, started learning about even about conversational hypnosis, which is a very powerful thing. This is one of the ways I started losing weight for myself was actually just having a conversation with me. As weird as
Mm.
that sounds.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, and I've noticed that people in this industry and people who really are very focused on personal development and change work and things like that, there's always that element of self work and self talk as much as anything else with anybody else. So I think it's almost a necessity. I think it's something that's not hit on enough, if you will.
Yeah, I've definitely I do conversational hypnosis and the relaxation form as well with my clients, and conversational is super powerful because the client is able to communicate with you where you're at, right? And you can go deeper and you can dive into all these extra areas, but there's a catch 22 with that because there are all these negative labels placed on hypnosis. A lot of people are not comfortable with that because they have these fears wrapped around they're going to make me tell my deepest darkest secrets. There's things in me I don't want them to know. First of all, if you were to say anything, it's safe space. Like at least I know in my practice. And second of all, can't make you say anything you don't want to say. You're still alert, you're still there, you're just like in this like dream state, so we have no control over. But I love doing conversational hypnosis with clients because it really brings them to greater depths of aha moments. I'm just very light with it because so many people are so fearful.
Well,
People
and
are
that's
fearful of deep conversations. People, it scares people.
well, and oftentimes that's um I think vulnerability is such a beautiful tool However, I will say this as well, is that it can also be used as leverage. And that's one of the things that anybody that knows me personally, or people that even start to get to know me, I mean, I've even heard you say this, right? Because I have been super intentional about this most of my life, most especially my adult life, because it's not always been given to me. So I've always been very intentional about being that safe space for people,
Mhm.
being that person that people can trust, and I prove that they can trust, right?
I will attest to that. I will.
Like because well, and because it's such a just an amazing proponent of change, and that's why I'm just insanely intentional about being a trustworthy person. Now, when it comes to hypnosis and things like that, for starters, those deep dark secrets that people talk about, like, I don't want to know your deep dark secrets.
Right. Right. Yeah. Please don't.
I mean,
If you
I'm,
feel the need, you need to get it out. I'm here. I have your back. I'll listen, but I'm not here to try to figure out what they are. I have too
right,
many other
yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah. I got my own shit to deal with, so people don't need nobody else's. Um, but even within that, it's interesting because um, in this place, me and you've talked about this. This is a conversational hypnosis type of training that I'm a part of, and we have meetings and like group settings that we practice with each other and things like that, right? And recently in one of these sessions, I was the client, and the other hypnotist was they were the hypnotist, right? They were facilitating. And as I was talking, I said something out loud that I had thought before. But saying something out loud, I really recognized just how silly it sounded to have that type of thought pattern or belief system in that moment. And when I said it out loud, I kind of started laughing. Now this woman that I was, she was facilitating, but which is something you learn, she just gave that space, just allow me to process, right? And as I was processing, I said it out loud, and it was just like there was that moment of like saying it out loud really just tore down that negative belief system, that negative thought was like, oh man, that doesn't really make sense. Now that I've said it, it just doesn't make sense. So it was easy to kind of look at it and be like, oh, this is not providing any type of benefit for me. So and
I
so
don't know
that
what it was. Oh, and you don't have to share, but I just want to creep this in real quick because I'm a creep. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
I can attest that.
so um, if you think about it, how many things are placed on us as children? Like it's our environment that we're in, and then our little tiny mindset latches onto this thought or idea, and we carry it with us through adulthood. Most times, not every time, but a lot of times we do. And then all of a sudden, here we are as adults. And then when we reconnect and actually consciously think of the thought or the limiting belief, it's like, what what the fuck is this? Like, how do I even have this? Oh yeah, it was brought with me as I was a child, and it kind of grew with me, even though I outgrew it. I didn't recognize it. So saying it out loud is really powerful because then you can actually hear it. And
Well, I will share. That's okay.
oh,
Because
sure.
I think this is something, and I'm okay with being vulnerable, okay? Because listeners, they've heard most of my junk anyway. I'm I'm that kind of guy anyway. So, but this particular thing was, uh, and I do believe I picked this up from childhood. Won't get into my childhood. I have a little bit on here, but in season one, but very destructive. But anyway, it's that self-sacrificing kind of thing, and that self-sacrificing mentality that I almost felt obligated to have was also producing some self-sabotaging behavior in the form of avoidance, procrastination, things like that. And obviously building a business and things like that, it becomes, because when you're building a business, especially a one person business, right, being a hypnotist, a hypnosis type of business, you very much have to be focused on you, what you're doing, your own personal mindset. There's a lot of things that go into building a business, right?
A
So
lot.
right, so I started noticing the more that I was doing, the more that I was, mapping out all this stuff, and I was accomplishing some of these things. I started getting some, the more I was focused on me, right? The more I was focused on doing this thing, I started hitting a lot more and more resistance the further I kept going. And I was struggling with pushing against the procrastination. I'm thinking, man, what is really going on with this, right? And within this session, right, because we actually work on real issues within these group sessions, and I was describing this, and this was like, this lady, she asked two specific questions. I think it was only two. And as I started processing this, one of the things that I was kind of saying to myself was like, if you're not self-sacrificing, then you're not deserving of success. You're not deserving of what you want if you haven't sacrificed enough for other people.
Something we all learn, I think.
And I thought, when I said that out loud, I thought, wow, what a bullshit story.
It
You know what I
is.
mean? And I thought, and I kind of laughed just like I am now, because I still feel that. Because I thought to myself, because I said that out loud, and I thought, well, that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's not even a thing. It's okay to give, but you give out of a place of just wanting to give, not to sacrifice yourself, right? Not to prove your, to prove yourself worthy of success by giving away so much of yourself to other people. And it was that moment of like, oh man, that just doesn't make sense. And then it just fell away. And since that session, that was Friday, I believe it was. Yeah, Friday. And since Friday, I've done more work on my business, even over the weekend, with spending time with the family and everything else. I've done more work in my business over the last 2 days than I probably have over the last week or two. And I've been a lot more focused since that, because that it crumbled that belief, saying it out loud, kind of to go full
Mm-hmm.
circle here, saying it out loud really just crumbled that belief system. Talking with that, speaking it out, hearing myself say it, there was some type of a, because I had thought about this stuff before, so I kind of knew where the issue was at. Because as a hypnotist, we learn these mindset tools, and right, but thinking about it in silence, in this context, I'll say it that way. In this context, just wasn't enough to break it down. When I was having a conversation, somebody else asked me the question, and I started processing out loud. When I said it out loud, it was something about that just be like, that doesn't make sense, and it just started crumbling right there on the spot. And I knew in
But
the
here,
moment, I was like, I've got it. I've got my breakthrough, and I have. So yeah,
here's a few things that fall into this. A, you're open-minded to exploring and hearing other things. You had safe space. I assume you felt safe
yes,
around her because she wasn't going to judge you. And your determination, you had a determination, and I think those are three very powerful things. Like, you're investing in yourself. So diving deeper, a lot of times, like, I hear this all the time. Well, we were always taught that we have to put ourselves first. Or no, I'm sorry, that's what we teach. I'm backwards. That we have to put everyone else first and ourselves second.
yeah,
And that's where that belief comes in. I'm so used to the other way now that I forget about. I've retrained my brain with so many things. I
yeah. To
forget
think
how
positive first,
people
yeah,
Yeah, I forget how other people actually think because I'm over here like, no, it's okay to put yourself first. If you want to call it selfish, be fucking selfish. I tell my clients that all the time. I'm like, this is an area where if you feel like you're going to be selfish here because you deserve to live your best life. But you have to have that open mindedness. You have to be open to hearing things or questions that might go against your grain. That's where that intellectual part really comes into place. Because if
Well,
you're closed minded with all those things, there's no intellect there. You're just keeping yourself in your own little box that you were in before.
and not to not to give a plug, right? Okay, but I know me and you both work with clients, right? And this is one of the things that I'll say is that in working with clients, this is something that me and you both, Jamie, do, and other hypnotists as well, right? Is that getting people to that threshold of change, and that's you don't have to have necessarily all the answers to change. You just have to be to that place to where you understand that something has to change. It has to be you, and it has to be now. And again, that's where conversation comes in it, because and I know we've both been trained in a lot of these things, but when you know how to ask those specific questions to get people at that place of that threshold of change, change becomes a lot more simple and, dare I say, easy. Even limiting beliefs and things like that, like that's something that um you know coming into hypnosis just 3 years ago, learning about hypnosis going on 3 years ago. I'm 47, so be 48 in April. So for almost the last 45 years, especially the adult part of that, right? The last 30 years, I had struggled with so many things, you know, low self worth, self sacrificing, um, uh, self sabotage, hating myself, procrastination, avoidance, using the excuse of being an introvert to alienate myself from other people. Now, it wasn't because I was an introvert, which I anyway, I won't go there yet.
Right. Well, see, here's the part where I don't even have to talk because you're speaking my story too. So you can just speak for both of us. And if I disagree, I'll call you
I,
bullshit.
I know, and that's the beauty of it. Um, but I would use introvert as a way of more actually because I didn't feel good enough to be friends with people because I didn't think anybody would ever like me, and even I would sacrifice some even friendships because I'm like I wouldn't say this to them obviously, but I'm like, if they found out how worthless I really was, they wouldn't want to be my friend anyway. So I might as well go ahead and start pulling back from this friendship because they're getting close to that space, right? I don't have anything to offer. There's all those negative belief systems. And I'm not going to go into my whole childhood and the disaster that was, but, but that's where all those things started coming from. And that being said, once I discovered hypnosis and started learning how to tap into those belief systems, and how to rewire them, how to start thinking different. All those things started crumbling. Now, look, just like I was sharing, I'm not perfect. There are still some of those self sacrificing things that I was just talking about. But now that I understand how to dig in there and see those things and figure out what's going on and then how to rewire those things, the more change that I have produced, the more it's easy to change the things going forward.
I
And
have a question.
yeah,
Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought. I don't want to
no,
interrupt
no,
you.
go ahead. I was pretty much
Okay.
finished anyway.
Like, do you ever run into this place of like listening to you talk sometimes? I'm just going to confess here. I have done since I've been, well, my main title is integrative healing arts practitioner. So in there's the hypnosis, the self coaching, the Torah reading, and there's probably like 10 other services I learned I could use. But since I've transitioned into this life in 2015, like I forget how I used to be. It's so weird. Do you ever just like come to this place where you kind of forget, like, oh my gosh, I used to think that way? Because like listening to your story, like honestly, I had this really amazing group of friends and we used to get together like once a month. Just it was a girls' night out. And if any of you are listening, I love you all still. But what happened was my insecurity got the best of me. We were going to get together for Christmas one year. And this was a life changing moment for me because I was willing to face my own bullshit and go on a deeper level. But we were supposed to get together and I didn't have the courage to do it because my brain kept saying, they don't actually like me. They don't actually like me. So I literally that day ditched out on them. And that was probably, I want to say around 2016, maybe when I was first, in the midst of learning all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a red flag. This is not okay. Like I thought, I'm like, you just ditched out on them because you're so freaking insecure. Maybe you should have sat down and tried to have a conversation with them. Maybe I could have done so. I mean, I did take actions after, I actually went in and I connected with a therapist because I'm like, this is not okay. And that's what happened when I went to college and I started learning all this stuff. Like, I think I have PTSD and I think this. And it was just opening this whole can of worms of self-reflection. And that's what these tools do. So I was like, I think I need to go see someone for a hot minute. So I did. I went and saw a therapist. Well, then I have complex PTSD and all these self esteem issues. And oh, well, great. Now I have the tools to utilize to make all the self changes. And I would be like, I outgrew my therapist. Like, and then I had a different one for a little bit just to clean up some ends. And I outgrew her lickety split too. It was just like, because I have all the tools. And they both said, they're like, you just you're the best. You do your homework. Like I do my homework. I mean, I was doing homework that they weren't even suggesting. So, and now I don't know. I still love my girlfriends. We don't do like I'm not really included in the date nights, but maybe I should reach out and connect and yeah. So maybe something really good is coming out of this episode with reconnecting with the people I was once messed up in my own brain about.
Well, that's
Look at
and I think
intellectual
you're.
intercourse.
I know, so I was getting ready to come around to. And I think your question was, do I ever forget like how I used to be? Is that what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying? Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's I can, but I will be honest. When I do things that I know that I would have never done 2 or 3 years ago, I don't remind myself of necessarily how I used to be, but I do remind myself of how far I've come. There's
Mm-hmm.
because there's a certain level of gratitude in there that really
For sure.
produces a lot of um motivation. Let me say it that way. It produces a lot of drive and motivation to keep pushing through those times. Look, sometimes life is just an uphill struggle, right? Sometimes life is just a battle. I mean, it is. Let's just be honest. And during those times is really when I will pick these little things like this that will be like, yeah, but 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you would have responded this way, but look at how you're responding now.
Mm-hmm.
And so at times, I do make it a conscious effort to remind myself of how I used to be because of how far I've come, because of where I'm at now. Not in a sense of, oh, let's go back there, but in a sense of, let's look at that journey. Let's look at the
Mm-hmm.
bridge that you've crossed. And I've been doing that a lot lately because I've been like, man, there's so many things that I do now that I just never would have done before. I mean, setting boundaries, um, valuing myself, understanding my own self-worth and what I have to offer to the world. I mean, like, and I can say this with 100% confidence that I actually love the person that I am, and I also love the person that I'm becoming. It's just another one of those things. I'm coming up on 3 years in February. 3 years of achieving weight loss and never having struggled with it since I used hypnosis to do so. And that's such a I like the way I look. I like my body quality. I like working out. I like running. I like doing all these things that I've used hypnosis, whether conversationally or just that formal, going into trance type of hypnosis to not only change my behaviors but change my identity. And it's coming up on 3 years. And I was talking to the wife yesterday about this. I thought, it's been 3 years because for those of you who may not know, I'm actually a truck driver. I was over the road. I just started doing local. I still do drive, but I do local now. But I was over the road team driving, meaning I was in a truck 5 days a week that was moving about an average of 22 hours a day. It's very easy with that sedentary lifestyle to get overweight, unhealthy, and I was. I
Mhm.
100% was. In 2022, I had struggled my way, done some of the yo-yo dieting, all the things, right? Up and down, up and down. Um, and I was starting to have some minor health issues because of it. And hypnosis came on. All that changed. And I looked back on that, and I was just looking back on that yesterday. And I thought, man, how fascinating that in struggling with my weight for probably the previous 10 years, going up and down and doing different things and not being consistent with working out or anything like that, the last 3 years, I've been nothing but consistent.
In a lot of areas, to be fair, because what you even said to me, like, and we both have this in common. So, like, working with someone else is a challenge. We just connected, our conversations connected. It was like really deep conversations with so much value. Hey, you want to do a podcast? Yeah, let's do a podcast. Here we are. And being consistent with it, following through. I
Yep.
will follow through with a lot of things on my own. I do have problems with procrastination sometimes, but working with another human, oof, well, that's a tough one. But here's the thing, like in all of our deep conversations and this whole package of us being committed to this podcast, being real with the podcast, just being who we are and talking, it's safe space.
Well, and you said it yourself
And
earlier. You were like, I have all these, used to have all these insecurities about pulling back from people that you knew. And you were the one that has suggested to me, and this really, this to me is such a beautiful moment of how much, you, by your own admission, you've changed, because you're the one. And I know we have been Ryan's group, but we still have never met. And we had some conversation back and forth, but there wasn't like a ton before you suggested this. But I think you were very intuitive and just going with it. Um, but you suggested that we start a podcast because of the conversations we've been having.
yeah, well, and not only that, like you provided safe space. You always provided safe space. And I think because when you talk on this level of depth, there can be so much space for disagreements. There's other opinions.
And
There's,
criticism.
yes, criticism, judgments, all of that. It's such a high risk when you are at that level of depth and you're talking about, you know, so many different things. And I think one of the key points between us is like, well, now you can disagree with me and that's okay. Or it's always a safe space. It's like, oh, well, we give each other permission to think different, but in the end, with your male perspective and my female perspective, we always end up meeting on the same path. It's like you'll start over here, I'll go over here, and then oh boom, here. Well, that's what I meant. Oh, that's what I meant too.
Well, and that's the
It's
beautiful
just
thing
a
about
different
it.
perspective. Yeah.
And I think that's why we do this so well, and people do tune in, is because we come maybe a different route. Being 1,500 miles apart, we'll use this analogy. We come from a, like your path to, let's say, New York City from Wisconsin, and versus my path to New York City from Southwest Virginia is going to be different, right? We're not going to travel the same roads, but we're going to arrive at the same destination. And I
Yeah.
think that's the beautiful thing about me and you doing this, male, female, different places, those kind of things, um, is that we will have a different um, path to get there for everybody, but we'll always arrive at the same freedom destination, if you will.
I personally wish that more people, my wish for the world, and perhaps this is, some might think I'm ridiculous for this, but I really don't care. My wish for the world is that when those heated conversations come into place out in public, whether it's about politics or a point of view on something simple such as what shoes are the best shoes, that people can just agree to disagree and own their own opinion and just be kind to one another. Because when we start bashing another point of view, it's so destructive. We're not all meant to think the same way. We're not all meant to take the same path and arrive at the same exact destination. We can, if there was an island of, this is so cheesy. If there's an island of kindness, right? And we all wanted to get there, we're not all going to get there the same way. So why not embrace the diversity? Why
Well,
not
because
embrace the diversity?
just
So,
like the analogy of where we live, we're all in different places. We all start in different places. Now, yes, I look at certain people and I think, man, I want to be doing stuff like they're doing. But I understand that that's not a I want to be that person. It's
right.
there's something about what they're doing that resonates with the core of who I am. So for me, it's like, okay, I get that's how they got there, but let me, I want to get there, but it doesn't have to look the same. And that's all right because I'm different. And that's the one thing that we all humans have in common. Every one of
Mm-hmm.
us is that we're all uniquely different. And
Man, I
and
love
the
what we do.
and that's the beauty of it, and that's the beauty of what we do with even with hypnosis, because I know, just like with both of us, if you worked with either one of us, anybody listening, the first thing that we're going to do the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a conversation with you,
Oh, for sure. Before you,
because
with me, before they even sign in as a client, we need to connect. We need to
100%.
discuss things. We need to know that we can like build a rapport. Because if we can't and there's friction there, we need to honor each other and go our separate ways and find
And
you
that's the
another way to go.
yes,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of it, is that, look, there's people that's going to resonate with me and the way I do things, and there's going to be people that be resonate with you and the way you do things, and those people are not going to necessarily resonate with each other, and that's all right. That's the beauty of doing this. And so, like, with that conversation, because yes, I'm 100% the same way. We're going to have a conversation before I agree to work, because I want to make sure that we are a good fit, that what you're looking for is something that I'm okay with and something you're okay with, and that how I do things is something you're okay with. All those kind of things, right? We hash out those questions. But the having said that, going back to the analogy, is either one of us can help them arrive to the destination, but we also want to make sure that the path to get there is what's going to be most beneficial from where you're at. Like, you're not gonna take directions from where I live if you live in California. If you wanted to get to New York City, I can give you directions from where I live, but I can't give you some directions from where you live. Right. And so that's I hope that analogy makes sense. But that's where questions come in at, That's why there's no cookie cutter response. And even in like hypnosis and things like that, is that that's the beauty that I love about doing this is because you dig in there and you ask these questions and you get where a person's starting from so you can start to kind of help guide them from that place where they are to the places they want to be. And this all
Actually,
starts
oh,
out with questions.
earlier you had said you made a comment about a lot of times people don't even know what they're looking for. And those are my favorite clients. When I get a female, I've even had men come in and they're like, I don't know why I'm contacting you. I need something and I don't know what I need. Those are my favorite. I love the ones that are coming to me and they don't even know why, because that tells me they're ready, they're on board. When you reach out and you don't even know why you're reaching out, that's huge commitment to yourself. That's totally
100%.
bypassing all this critical stuff of like, what's like, I need to know this or I have to know that. Or I'm going to feel stupid if I call in and I don't even know what I need. Oh, to me, that's just complete bravery. And I love it. It's my favorite. So
Yep, and
this is
that's the
awesome.
beauty of yeah, it's the beauty about what we do, and kind of circling back and in closing, it's for winding down is the idea that you know going back to the original episode title, intellectual intercourse, right? That is we're going deep, having those conversations, having those beautiful, wonderful, amazing, deep conversations, whether it's with somebody else or with yourself. The benefits of that is just is too it's just too much to measure in my opinion. I mean it's one of the reasons why again I'm so fascinated with conversational hypnosis and I love learning about that. It's because watching people, I love hypnosis, eyes closed, relaxation, all the things, right? But as much, even maybe if even not a little more, watching people get some of the same change with their eyes open is incredibly fascinating to me. And it's something that again, I don't think is has been promoted enough, if you will. Even within change work or just in life in general, is having those specific deep conversations to, you know, uncover and I don't know, just the feeling of going deep is just such a fascinating thing for me, and not
It
just one
is.
sided, but two sided, right?
Yeah. And I'll invite you guys, keep it respectful. That's where that safe space comes in, and you can't control other people. You cannot control other people. That's why you need to keep yourself safe and know that you're entitled to your opinion and your perspective and
Oh, and one
continue
other
to
thing,
respect other people because that's in yourself. When you have those conversations with yourself, keep it respectful because we self sabotage so much.
and one other thing that I will add to that: don't be problem focused.
Oh, yes.
Be solution focused. It's okay to and do this without judgment. This is where I'm at, also knowing this is where I want to be. Right? Don't sit there and just dwell on your problems. This is some of the issues that I have with specific talk therapy is don't be so problem focused that you maybe forget the fact that you do have those internal resources to arrive at a solution. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I won't dive too deep into that because I might offend some people. Won't be the first, but it's okay. Um, yes, we're launching a YouTube channel. This will be on YouTube, and the link will be in the description of the podcast. Um, and we're growing, guys. We appreciate everybody who listened to season one. We're super excited about season two. We've got a lot of the things that we're working on, and a lot of things that even what we talked about today. Um, yeah, just super excited about what's coming, what we're doing. Appreciate everybody who's listened. who is listening, who will be listening. This is just
Mhm.
amazing. We love doing this. So stay tuned because there's a lot of different things that we're rolling out and ways that you can connect with both of us together on a deeper level instead of just listening to us, the opportunity to interact with us. So,
Yes. And I'm excited. This is season 2, and it's going to be our first official, really full season. Because
yes,
last year we
March.
started March 27th.
Yep. This will
So
be our full season.
yeah.
So we'll be going all the way till what, like again around Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving.
Yep. Something like that.
Yeah, it'll be amazing. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna love it.
Yes.
Anyway,
We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us. And we hope that you have found some of this at least valuable on your end. And we look forward to staying connected.
yep. Thanks for listening.